Good morning, good morning, good morning. And yes, to those out there, it is a beautiful morning, even if you're drinking shitty coffee. My name is Jonathan Turner alongside Nathan Wangler.
It's by design. It is all by design.
Yeah, the level of animosity that comes
Vitriol.
out of Coffee Firm in regards to the type of coffee that you may or may not be drinking
Straight
on any
haters, man.
morning is very, very good. I love people who are passionate.
Yeah.
I do.
Yep.
I think it's great. I think it's great that there's passionate people. I have yet, up until this point in my life, knew that there are this many passionate people in regards to coffee.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
They're
so
snobs.
The
Yeah.
Twitter world yesterday was taken by storm. If you didn't see it on the National Soccer Network and Michigan Soccer Network Twitter handles, X handles, whatever you want to call them. Man, the coffee firm came at you pretty hard there, Nathan. They were not happy with the type of coffee that you chose. Even though it hits you like a brick, as you put it yesterday, they were not happy. Not happy at all. Would that be the right thing to say? I mean, would that be the correct maybe analysis of that conversation yesterday, or no?
Yes, because coffee lovers, true coffee lovers, the way the coffee firm is, like curating a coffee that both tastes good and gets the job done, right? So they do both, right? They have the good stuff. It tastes good, but it also gets you energized at the same time, right? You were talking about that lemonade coffee that you had. So they're coming at it from an angle of, number one, instant coffee, which is gross. I agree. It's not great. And you mix it into a mason jar too, which I don't have any coffee mugs here. I didn't bring any over from where I was previously, so I just got mason jars, and then I think there's one cup down there from a bar somewhere that someone brought home, so I could mix it in there, but I don't know if I can actually use that one. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, and so I'm not going to say I disagree, but yeah, I saw there were a lot of people. I was given actually the red card by the coffee firm, and he says you should have to miss tomorrow's episode as well because that's all for you today, son. And so I felt like, in one way or the other, I got the boot from everybody that consumes our show. But you got to understand why I do it. I don't do it for the taste, JT. I do it because it comes with a fist. I do it because it hits you like a brick. Literally, like that's what I want. I want like a car crash in my stomach at 8:45 in the morning so that when we hit live I'm ready to roll. I got the energy down. So that's I don't really drink it to feel good about myself. I actually drink it to, go, wow, what the hell just happened inside of me? What just happened? What just happened? I don't know, but I'm ready to
So what you're saying
ready to
is
go.
so what you're saying is that your coffee is like what White Castle is with most of society?
I guess so. I don't know what beef you got with White Castle.
I don't have a
okay.
beef. It's just a slippery slope with White Castle. You
That's
know what I mean?
fair. I hear that the only way you can actually eat White Castle is if you're like, not of sober mind. Maybe I'm wrong. The only good White Castle story I've ever heard was actually they were in Vegas. One of my friends of mine was in Vegas, and they were a little out of it at the end of the night, and then they went to White Castle. But that's it. My dad likes it, but he's a big onions guy. Love onions.
I do want to show this. This is in fact the red card that was given to you
Yeah.
yesterday from the coffee firm.
Yeah.
First off, they were upset that we did not tag them in our coffee conversation. To be fair, I mean to be 100% honest about yesterday, it kind of came out of nowhere. I think in the 61 or 60 previous episodes to yesterday, I don't think anyone's ever asked us, "What are you drinking?"
Yeah, that was a good
So
question by Peter. Yeah.
it was. I mean, I drink coffee every morning. I drink 2 cups of coffee. It is, again, right here. I have a Keurig that's out in, off to the left here in our control room area for our staff. I pour in there sugar-free creamer every morning along with my coffee. I typically, from a Keurig standpoint, will either use Starbucks Pikes Peak, something like that, Pikes, whatever it's called. Or I use we have Botella. My wife likes. We've also had the what's it like? Death. There's like a death coffee that my wife has gotten to, which probably more aligned with the way you want it to hit your body, Nate, not necessarily the way it's supposed to go down. but but yeah, it's strong. I think it's called Coffee by Death or something like that. But yeah, I drink something along those lines. It's supposed to be designed like a stronger coffee. My
Okay.
wife is a coffee connoisseur. She has like those French presses, that you can do.
Oh boy.
Yeah, she has espressos. She loves, loves to kind of play with it. My father-in-law, they had an espresso machine at their house with the, little, like we have
Oh
the
yeah.
home
All
where
the works.
it does a frothing in the creamer for you, and she does that and warms up her. Me, I don't care. I'll just take cold creamer, just toss it in my coffee. I don't give a shit, right? But she's a connoisseur. So my wife would probably fit
Sure.
well into the coffee firm mentality, right? So
Oh yeah.
very good, very good fit. No, not me.
Oh yeah.
Not, I'm not into that as much.
Yeah, I think, man, I grew up on Ballpark Coffee. Ballpark Coffee is some of the worst coffee you'll ever have in your life. But like I said, man, I mean it's there's death inside of you, but it really gets you up and going and ready to take on the world, man. It's like a cold shower. Imagine it that way. Coffee for caffeine fix. You say we might have a VAR that read, but Peter, boss, buy the young man an NSN coffee mug. Okay, see that's
I
what's up
know.
next. We do have coffee mugs. Y'all go check out our apparel. That's one of them. Morning, gents. What's up, coffee firm?
Yeah, go buy
So
a
yeah,
coffee
I mean
mug.
that's
I will be the first one to tell you though that I'm not happy with the coffee mug. I bought one, and to be fair, it's small enough for a mouse, so I gotta update that. You gotta get your merch, try it all out. I love our NSN Nation shirts, Soccer Nation shirts. I mean, I really do. As a matter of fact, you know what we're gonna do here this morning? We're gonna show our website. Why not, man?
ooh
Why not show people
ooh.
the website and where to go shop, right? And then this is something that go shop. I do want to also get. I do when I say this, I do want to get a scarf made. And that's going to be a work in progress. I do want to get that up and running. But let me go ahead and share my screen here. We're gonna go start presenting. Share screen. Here we go. Boom. All right, so this is in fact our homepage. So if you come to our website, you can actually see right here, hey, available now, Soccer Nation, order your gear. You click on that and it takes you right here to all of our merch is located, right? And this is that Soccer Nation mug I was talking about. I'm not entirely happy, but we do have, hey, travel mugs. We got these nice t-shirts for men and women. It's Soccer Nation, right? And the cool thing about what we've done, also have Inside the Game merch too. The cool thing we've done about this is that I've not made our logo of like the National Soccer Network front and center. Our logos are like on your sleeve. They're like right here, right? So they'd be on like your left sleeve, little small logo of NSN. The rest of it is get dedicated towards whatever we might, have here. Like, so we always say this, you're home for soccer, right? This is a great example, right? You can see it right there, maybe how it kind of switches on you, but it's on the left sleeve there, our logo, right? You're home for soccer. Again, it's on the sleeve. It's just on the sleeve, a little small area. Soccer versus everybody. I think it's a great merch, right? Taking that same idea that Detroit versus everybody, but it's soccer versus everybody. I have one of those shirts. I've got a Soccer Nation shirt, which is up here. I actually own this sweater here that I'll click on. But again, it's got that right there on that right there is where the logo is located that you can get. And yeah, so there's a look at our merch. So you should definitely get a try. Oh shit! Peter says he's never received his shirt. Peter, send me your address, and not in the chat unless you wanted people to bother you. Send me
Drop your phone number.
Just text me your address. I will get you a shirt ordered here today. I just can't drop one off. You're in Chicago area, so. But either way, what are we going to talk about here today? We've been talking about fan bases all week, it seems like. And I like this conversation. I think it's a great conversation to have, right? It's a great conversation. And, Bianca, who joined our company here back in January, we've been working on this project, which is about highlighting athletes, right? Highlighting athletes. These doesn't matter what age. You can go onto our social media right now. It'll actually be added to our link tree this afternoon, later this morning. But you can go on into our social media and actually find a link to a survey that you can fill out about your playing and your history as a player, like a player profile. And I think so far we just like literally put it out yesterday. We've had like 3 or 4 people from social media already fill it out. It's like, again, it's called, I think it's Here's My Story or something along those lines, right? It's like your story. My Game, My Story is the name of it. It's really cool, right? And what it's designed to do is for people to share their story. Now, that story doesn't have to just be for an athlete. It can be for a fan. What made you have this love for the game? What is it that about this game that excites you? So take those questions and apply them to you being a fan, right? Like, one of the questions we ask is, if you could play with one player, past or present, who would it be? Right? Like, that's a really great question. It's like that. Like, if you could have dinner with one person, who would it be? Right? Famous person. Well, who would it be? Right? What would that person? Who would you choose? It's the same idea.
Right.
We had a player yesterday say that they wanted love to play with Tobin Heath. Right? Obviously, a former U.S. Women's National Team player, Tobin Heath, very successful. Right? And obviously, if you're a female player, you're going to probably more lean towards a female player that you might want to line with, and male, same thing. Maybe not. I don't know, but it's really cool. It allows you to share your story. And this game that we talk about that we love so much, why do we love it? Why do we love the game of soccer? What is it about soccer that is so appealing to people that they love this game? There are countries around the world that have wars over this game. Put that in perspective. Have literal wars over this game. People losing their lives over the game of soccer, the game of football. I mean, it is a culture. It is a way of life, as it was said in Ted Lasso, Danny, right? Football is life, right? To them, that's true. Now, here in the U.S., it's not the case. We are not in a situation where football is life for most people, right? It's not their world does not revolve around soccer for the most fans,
right.
But around the world, it does.
Right.
So, understanding why, like, Nathan, why do you love baseball?
Well, I could say why I love soccer too. I have no problem.
No, I know. I want to start
that.
there though, because I think that in talking about, because I know that baseball, if I were to ask you, I think baseball is your preferred number one, like, most loved sport, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know if I would categorize anyone as the number one. Baseball I grew up on, I'll say that. I think there's beauty in a lot of different sports that I do. Basketball I've really fallen in love with simply because of how the game flows. I think it's one of the more entertaining sports I've ever done. But baseball is the reason why I grew up on it was because of the game within the game, and I think that's, to me, what makes it such a beautiful sport. It's the art of pitching. It's the art of learning how to hit the baseball. It's learning how to stack your lineup against another lineup. It's also one of those games, and it's rare that you see this, where any team of any level can beat another team of any level. If you have good enough pitching, you have an opportunity to go out and win. It really doesn't matter what all the rest of your pieces look like. It's also the sport of summer at the same exact time too. And I think the culture around baseball in a lot of places, like if you ever go to see a game at Wrigley, like we talked about with Peter a few episodes ago, it is a cultural experience. And so that's what really made me fall in love with the game of baseball. But, I could also say the same thing about like soccer. What makes soccer to me, and it's the reason why it's grown on me so much, especially over the last couple of years and working at NSN, I think the simplicity of the game makes it beautiful. I think at its very core, soccer is a game that anybody and everybody can learn about and learn to love. And it doesn't take a whole lot. When you watch baseball, there's so many different things going on that you really do, in a way, kind of have to learn the language within the language. American football can be a little bit of the same story. Basketball is simpler in terms of the concepts, but there's still a lot of things in and around the game that are confusing. Soccer at its very core is a basic sport, but that's what makes it beautiful, because it's not like there's not a whole lot of learning necessarily that has to be done in order to really enjoy what you're watching. Now, there is a game within a game, obviously, and there's more that I'm learning in terms of terminology and formations and all these things that go on within the game. But at its very core, put the ball in the net. And so I think to that degree, when you talk about places that maybe don't have the same financial resources, or areas of the world that don't have really what we have here or anywhere else, it's really as simple as you have two goals, you have a ball and you have an open field, and you can get everybody in the community to come out and play together. And all you have to do is just be more skilled than the guy in front of you. And so the beauty comes from the simplicity of it. And then you factor in how they do things on a professional level, in other parts of the world too. And the fact that you could literally go out tomorrow, start a team, join a league, and then if you're good enough, and if this dream pans out the way you want it to, you could be in the highest league. So there's constant opportunities and potential within the game of soccer to add to the simplicity of the sport. So that's to me, that's why it's the world's favorite sport. And, it's just the beauty is in the simplicity of it all. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to ask you, what is it about the game that you love?
For me, growing up, obviously my parents, got me involved in soccer, zone soccer, right? And that kind of started this thing where you're out there with your friends, right? And you're kind of playing around, running around, and there's a lot of chaos. Um, for me, it was I remember I can still smell it, right? I was playing in my elementary school. There's a field deck down below behind the school, and um, I was not normally a goalie. I was actually a field player, and I was okay. I wasn't something to write home about, right? I was okay. But our main goalkeeper could not play, wasn't there for that game. I don't remember the exact circumstances as to why, but I had to slide in. And there was a moment in that game where a shot comes in, and instinctively I dive to my right, I make a save, and it was a big deal. I remember that moment very vividly because it changed the course of the way I looked at soccer. Right, there was this exuberance, this excitement that came with everyone going, "Oh my gosh!" Like you just made a huge save. That was huge. Because before that, I was just kind of in the mix, right? I was just kind of in the mix with everybody else. Now there's this light shine on me, right? And over time, the light was either a positive one or a negative one based on how I played, right? Based on how if I made a big save or I didn't make a big save. And for me, the big saves were just kind of it just and playing well was just something I did consistently throughout much of my career. I had games where I didn't play well, just, one-offs, but consistently I was a really good goalkeeper. It's why I made varsity as a sophomore. It's why I was a starting goalkeeper in almost every team I've ever played on, right? And so, but the love for me, it started in that moment, and then realizing, that it was my escape for 90 minutes. It was my kind of like, regardless of what was going on in the world, right? Good, bad, or whatever, I could escape for 90 minutes and I wasn't thinking about this, that, or the other, right? That's how I really truly fell in love with the game, right?
Yep.
Because, that's why I always tell, as a coach, I told my players that, like, hey, these training sessions, these games, they can be your escape from the world, right? Where you're
Right.
not inundated with all the things that could possibly, distract you from what you want to do.
Right. Right.
Um, the
Right.
the the rules, the laws, the excitement, all that stuff for me is all packaged into the same thing.
Right.
And another thing we talked about this with Victoria, right? When she was on the show, like how do we have to make it known that players have to find a way to get into other aspects, of the game, right? So that way the love just doesn't come to an end when you stop playing,
Right.
right? So for me, a new love built it even stronger, right? No different than if you're trying to find your soulmate or trying to find your husband or wife, right? You find something that draws you to them, and then there's three or four other things that make it stronger. How they treat you, right? The things that they say to you, the way they make you feel, all these things. Well, soccer is the same way for me. I had the playing, and then I found this love for refereeing that made the love stronger. Then I fell in love with coaching, and that made the love stronger, right? Now, as a broadcaster, another thing that's associated with that made the love stronger. right? So finding these different things. And if you're a fan, well, what is it? Okay, you find your team, right? That's one love. Okay. But now how do you make that love stronger for the game, right? You have to find the league, right? Maybe you have to be a supporter in that team, right? To make it a much stronger connection, right? But I would say just because of the fact that if you're talking about amateur teams or semi-professional teams, just being a fan in that one team and loving that one team, that could be the same thing as if you only were as a player only played and didn't do anything else. If that team goes away, what happens to your love for the game? It dissipates. It goes away.
Mm-hmm.
So find other places to put that love and get it back. So that way that becomes a much stronger love.
Right.
So that's why I love the game. That's why this to me is the greatest game that's ever been created, because I don't believe you can get that in other sports. I don't believe that you can get that as easily and as accessibly in other sports as you can in soccer. You know what I mean? And that's why I love it so much. There's so much of it out there, right? You can consume soccer so many different ways. Basketball's in a gym or it's outside, right? There's it's right. Football's in a football stadium. Yeah, you can go outside and play it in the park, but I'm talking about you want to go capture a football game. It's going to be kind of hard to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? You could go watch a football game, NFL, you can go watch a college game. That's great. But again, it's during a 4 or 5 month period, and then it goes away, and maybe there's some flag football here, but you can't consume soccer's all year round. It's indoors, it's outdoors, it's on beaches, it's it's everywhere. It's so accessible.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's another sport that's accessible as soccer.
Right.
And if there is, I'd love to know which one it is. And this question did come in. Of all the major sports, do you think international soccer experience is way better than international basketball, Olympic basketball, baseball, I'm assuming, or World Cup or baseball, even Olympic hockey? I do believe that the World Cup is the pinnacle of sports in the world, right? That we know that because of the viewership, the money associated with it. I don't think it's even close. I mean, basketball is a great sport, and yes, they do have these international competitions. To be fair, I actually think that probably hockey would be second. I feel like hockey's international competitions.
It depends.
You know what I mean? Because again, I look at it from the
Depends where you look.
Yeah, but I think again, baseball is great, but I don't know how many people want to watch international baseball. You know, because you're talking about.
I think he's talking about the competition. He's talking about the competition itself, maybe not necessarily the viewership. I think at least that's what I was reading out of that
he's saying
comment.
the soccer experience is way better than international basketball experience. I'm assuming
the experience of watching it. Consuming it. Oh, okay.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe that asked him for clarification.
Maybe I guess that's kind of what we're getting at here. No, the one thing, yeah, I mean, they say, when you ask me about baseball, how can you not be romantic about baseball? It's one of the biggest reasons why I fell in love with it, because of everything that's around it, right? 4th of July, pizza, hot dogs, Chevrolet, summertime, all that plays into where my love for the game actually came from. But you could also say the same thing about soccer. It's the simplicity of, watching a play get set up and then the ball end up in the back of the goal. When you got that slow motion replay of 3 players working in perfect unison to get to an ending. That is something it is really beautiful to watch play out in person. I mean, it's like art. It's art in real time. And that's why I love doing play-by-play, because, especially with high-level soccer, because you see this art playing out in front of you. So now you're the one that gets to describe it. You're the one that gets to bring the energy to the table for that moment. And so that's the hope. Like, eventually I can get to the highest level so that I can see, and we see great, amazing things at our level. Now just imagine covering the highest teams, the most talented teams. I mean, it's fascinating to see some of the best players in the world, what they can do with the soccer ball. And I listen to that podcast that Landon Donovan and Landon Donovan has with Tim Howard. And I remember them reminiscing on having to play Messi in Argentina once, and just game planning around stopping him. I mean, that's the entire all week. That's all they were practicing on, shutting down one guy, Messi, and then they get to play him. And they're like, the things he could do with the soccer ball, the things he could do with the ball in his foot, really they weren't human. And that's the stuff that I think the skilled and watching, a unit work together, all of those things kind of really add up to, and the simplicity and the availability to stay involved or do things in the game, you're right. That all adds up to what makes the game what it is. Now, in terms of internationally, the experience, it's when you break it down by sport, it's the world. First of all, the world is catching up to the U.S. in a lot of different things, right? Like we used to run the table in baseball, not really the case. I'd say in the Dominican Republic, in Venezuela, in Colombia, they grow up playing baseball. Like they're born into the culture. Like they go to these academies, they go to these schools where that's all they play is baseball. Like that's all they know. And you see them, they come over here, and it's like, wow, like they know a lot of these things and how to do them perfectly because that's all they've done their whole life. The baseball culture is rich. I'd say Japan is right there, if not even with us, probably better than us in terms of baseball culture. It's a rock concert every time they have a professional game. Like you were talking about yesterday. I mean, they come out like it's an NFL Sunday in America. Like Shohei Otani, we just got Sasaki or whatever, the kid that's pitching for the Dodgers. I mean, they got it going. Basketball, you could say, Serbia is they've always kind of had a basketball culture over there, but it's huge now. France is very quickly going to have the best international team here in the NBA, I think, in about 4 or 5 years. The next Olympics might be a different story than what it was this year. Canada has gotten better. They've really taken a step up. Obviously, Spain and Australia have always had really good programs. So that sport is growing in terms of the experience elsewhere. Hockey, I mean, you got Canada, Sweden has always been really good. Russia has always been really good. They've always had good teams. So it always depends on the sport. But in terms of overall popularity, yeah, I mean, nothing touches the World Cup. We know this. It's the biggest tournament in the world. And in terms of experience, I wouldn't know how to judge. Here's the hard thing about that question is like I could sit here and theorize, if I saw a baseball game in Japan, I'm sure it would be electric. If I saw a high-level basketball game in France, I'm sure it would be electric. But I've never had the opportunity to actually go and experience those things. But one of the things on that bucket list is going across the pond and seeing a soccer match, whether that be in Spain, whether that be in the UK, whether that be in France, or maybe not even that far. I mean, even like Brazil or something. I mean, how they're able to coordinate these dances and these cheers and these celebrations and the flares. I mean, what I'm amazed by in terms of the soccer world, and it's kind of similar in the other sports. It just depends on, like I said, the where in the world that you go. But I'm to see how involved that the fans are in the game, especially in the game of soccer in different parts of the world where it's extremely popular. That's the side that I want to experience. That's the side that I want to see. Everyone kind of converging on the stadium at the same time and wearing these various colors and doing these stuff, just leading up to the game, that the passion and the energy is already there. So that's on my list of before I pass on to the next world, I want to cross off is get to see a soccer match in a part of the world where they live, breathe, and die it. And that's in terms of the experience side. Again, it's hard to judge because I haven't experienced these different sports in all these different places, but the soccer is what it is. It's the most popular sport in the world.
I too would love to experience, a game in another part of the world. I mean, for me, I haven't had a chance to see a lot of high level in person type soccer from an international standpoint. I've never seen a U.S. men's national team game in person, right? Or women's national team game for that matter. I've seen an MLS game, my first one a couple of years ago. I do plan on as far when the World Cup comes into town, we do plan on doing a whole bunch of stuff with the World Cup. So for me, there is. I can tell you this right now. I don't need to know or be there to know that these things are beyond. Just like you mentioned, like there's no way that they're not exciting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you ever want to see a small kind of like taste of what soccer is like, you go no further than Hamtramck, Michigan, right? You're, it's nutty, it's exciting, it's Maybe on some level it's distasteful. It's you know,
Right.
it's loud, it's obnoxious, it's
Hmm.
in your face. It, and again, I that's what makes soccer so great, right? Is that growing up, going to a football game, watching the Lions, you always, when at the Silverdome, you knew you were going to see a good fight in the bleachers. You knew it. Always going to be a fight. Always.
Right.
All right, we're just
Yep.
waiting for the crowd to all look. Oh, you see the crowd getting all excited, and you see people, a whole bunch of people just standing up, and people are taking swings at each other. I
Yeah.
remember that very vividly on Sundays at the Silverdome.
The
I
Silver
can't
Dome.
say I see that,
What a
at
dump.
Ford Field, but the Silverdome, man, the fights up in the bleachers, especially right below the Globaltron, Jumbotron thing up in the way up there in the nosebleeds, man. It probably cost $15 or $20 to get in that bill, into that seat, and it just what
But that's
happened in that was
yeah,
it, man. But
that's the other
that's the
side though.
environment. Yeah,
That's the other side. How much did you say they were? 15, $20 to get those tickets? Yeah, I
probably,
mean, that's the other angle of it too, and not that we have to get that far off track here with what we're talking about, but I also think like in other parts of the world, and maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, I can't judge on everywhere, but part of it also feels like in American sports, because of how far we've gone with how these leagues have become so much about money and big contracts and all this other stuff. And yeah, everything's getting more expensive in general, but I feel like there's also this part of the American experience that's missing a little bit. To answer Coffee Firm's question, you can get a similar experience, maybe not quite to the same as the European experience. You're generally going to find it at the college level. If you go to a Michigan football game against Michigan State, you'll get something like that. Or if you go to a high level college game, but sometimes in these pro games, JT, I feel like we've kind of priced the real fans out of a lot of situations to come out and experience that stuff. That's why we talk about the minor league experience. It's different because you can actually afford it. There is that rowdiness. So it's weird, Coffee Firm. You find a lot of that stuff on the somewhat lower levels than you do necessarily the highest level. College hockey games, high school hockey games, smaller venues, that have baseball or, football or anything else like that. Like those experiences are will be had. And not to say that again, there's still excitement and passion and everything with the highest level, but sometimes it's you're going to actually find more of that craziness as JT was talking about at some of those places versus finding it at the biggest and best stadiums in the United States, which, again, when you talk about different places of the world, like I watch a soccer game in Brazil. Let's just say it. I'll just use that example again because I know a soccer player from Brazil, Thiago dos Santos. I actually want to get to chat with him eventually on our platform, but he's from plays at Bethel in Indiana. But he would show me his hometown and how they would pack out the stands and just go crazy. I mean, just all of them just go nuts. I mean, they would coordinate all these cheers like 15, 20 minutes before the game, but these people will go to like multiple games a year in this professional league, this high-end professional league. They'll go to multiple games a year and they'll bring out the whole family. That's not something that, in my mind, at least for the general American family, the normal American family, that's really available to them anymore. I feel like the majority of tickets are taken up by business people or people who have season tickets or deep pockets. The ones that can actually afford to be there all the time are the ones that are there, and that's why like it's not, you don't see a lot of that extra stuff anymore. You don't see a lot of those extracurriculars, and I mean, do people love seeing fights in the stands? Probably not. I mean, maybe not everybody out. JT certainly loves it, but it might not be everybody's cup of coffee. But even the basic stuff. I remember seeing someone, a Lions fan, during a post game. He was actually getting interviewed after the playoff game. He was talking about how everyone was, trying to start the wave in the middle of a very important possession. It just feels like sometimes the people that actually go to these games now in the United States aren't nearly as invested, and that's what we see a lot. You price the real fans out, and now you get what you get in terms of the fan experience. So there's also that side to American sports that sometimes I feel like we don't necessarily talk all that much about.
Here's a look at Detroit City FC. We're going to look at Detroit City FC and the Columbus Crew. Okay. The closest MLS side to us is the Crew. Right now, to get in the family seating area. It's $15. So family is right down
Perfect.
here. That's family. Okay.
Yeah.
So sit there. Okay. You want to sit right in the gold area here. It's going to cost you $30. All right. In the Rouge, fit 20 here, 15. $60 here in this Rouge, right? So actually, yeah, they're saying actually there's like another seat that you sit right on the ground, basically right behind the teams.
Mm-hmm.
That's $60. So you can get anywhere basically in this stadium for around $15 to $60. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look here at Columbus Crew. Okay. So way up here, we're going to say so if you're way up here in this area here, tickets are $51. Yeah, $50. So way up here. Now let's maybe let's go look at another place. Maybe I'm going to zoom out of here. Let's go find, I don't know how to, there we go. Okay. So let's see what this section's all about. Can I click on this? We'll go to 118. I don't know. I don't want to buy them. Come on now. I don't want to spend $51 in those, please. Thank you very much. These ones are $180. So those are $90 a pop, right? For two seats. This is the thing, right? I mean,
is it doable? Yeah. I mean, like I can stomach that for a game, and then you factor in food and you factor in drink and you factor in driving there and you factor in parking and all this other stuff. Trust me, it's not going to be $90 at the end of the day, and you can excuse that for one or two games a year. That's okay, but we talk about bringing people back game after game. That's just not going to happen at the highest level here. It's not.
And these ones are so this section 133 are resale tickets. So you can come here. I'm just trying to get in here and pick. So yeah, these ones are 220 plus fees. Yep. Right? So, that and what we have learned more recently and what's happening with the professional sporting environment is the resale market. What's happening is these companies, these bots are buying 20 and 30 and 40 seats, right? And at the price that a fan could buy them, the normal pricing, and then selling them for more to make a profit, right? Yep. And that's been the biggest problem in sports in the last 10 or 15 years, right? Is these third party resale markets, which are causing prices to get out of hand.
Right.
And that's where even the teams are like, hey, our prices are, the NFL is the one that sets prices for tickets. I remember when we went we were looking at getting season tickets to the Lions as a company back many years ago. Now, this is a previous company that I wasn't an owner of, but was in the managing partnership group of that organization. And we were sitting with the Lions looking at getting seats for them. And we were like, well, okay, well, what's the discount? Like, well, we can't discount. The seats are the seats. The NFL is the one that sets the pricing for the seats. We don't set that pricing. And then ultimately, those tickets that go on the resale market, they then can be sold for more because of supply and demand, right? So that's what's killing the market, right? It's the resale. And granted, everybody, I understand we're in a capitalistic society, and that's what supply and demand makes a lot. It makes a lot of sense when it comes to these types of things, but maybe the teams just don't. The teams have more control over that, right? The team is still getting the $95 for their ticket, right? Now it's, the guy who's selling it for $100 more, that person's making a profit. My thing is then just don't sell them to aftermarket. Just stop it, or limit it, saying, you know what, if you're going to go and buy these and you're going to buy more, you can't buy more than 2 tickets. I don't know. Maybe that's what that comes down to. I can tell you that when we had Pistons tickets as an organization, I was on StubHub. I was on, the other resale platforms to sell our courtside seats, to games that included the food and beverage package, and a parking pass, right? And so I was on there trying to sell, these tickets. We were trying to sell them for what face value was in most cases. But we also tried to, in certain games, sell it for more because we wanted to make a little bit more money on our tickets.
All right.
But that's what single-handedly is killing, the ability for the actual fan. Because you're right, you are 100% correct. When we start talking about the fan who's at that game right now, And I think there was with the Lions in their playoff loss here to Washington, there was a big conversation about that afterwards, saying those tickets were going for $500-$600 a ticket, something crazy, $300 a ticket.
Yeah.
The average person couldn't afford to be in that environment. So who's going to go there? Well, it's going to be the person that has the money. And a lot of times that's not the person who
that really cares.
Yeah. I mean, they're there because
really gives a shit.
Yeah. It's so what does that even like? What does that even look like? Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I couldn't agree with you more. And it's obviously really is helping, the minor league team, the semi-professional environment, because those tickets are so accessible, right? They're so inexpensive. $15. I mean, you're telling me I can take my kids to a professional soccer game for $15 a person, so $75 to get us all in. That's the equivalent of going to a movie.
Yeah.
And
go sit in a lawn seat at the minor league baseball game. Oh, and by the way, you got $2 mac and cheese, $2 hot dogs, and $2 pop. Like
$2 mac and cheese.
Yeah, mac and cheese.
Damn.
Yep, next week. Yep, come on down. But I mean, that's JT. That's what. So you got 3 kids. That's let's say they all want 2 hot dogs. That's $12. $12 to get the 3 kids.
I can't get a $2 hot dog at a movie theater, so I think the hot dog at a movie theater is like $8.
That's what I'm saying. So you're right. I mean, it completely changes the entire dynamic of, and that's where like we've kind of shifted back the other direction. It's like major sports, like they still have their fan bases, and people are going to still come out and catch games, and you'd be amazed how much people are actually willing to kind of go into the hole financially to be able to still come out and see these games. Like, fans are crazy, and for good reason. Like, we wouldn't have sports.
Well, look at like the Taylor Swift, right? Taylor Swift. I mean, look at what she's been able to do, right? The buzz about her. I mean, people are paying. I mean, my wife was and my daughters would like to go to all these concerts, right? But they're to get in the door, it's like $300 a ticket. It's insane, and you're not even going to get good seats at $300.
Right.
You're going to sit up at like the nosebleeds. And granted, okay, being in the environment, I've been to a couple concerts in my lifetime. I'm not a huge fan of concerts. It's not because I don't like music. It's just not something that I want to go sit in front of, with 25,000 other people all screaming and singing. And it just seems like a lot, to take in. I get it.
Yep.
But my wife and my daughters, they all want to do that. But to get in the door, I mean, a couple of years back, they all went and watched. I think my wife went to watch Justin Timberlake, right? And that was probably 4 or 5 years ago, right before COVID or right after COVID. But either way, she won a friend, went downtown. That ticket today is probably 4 times what she paid for today. 4 years ago. I mean, we were just talking about going to Vegas and going to see the Backstreet Boys at the Sphere, right? That would be cool. The tickets to be in the Sphere. Now, the Sphere, way different than most of your auditoriums, right? This thing is like an audio, your audio Van Andel on like super duper steroids.
Yeah, they can turn it into a new world in there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you're paying at that point for that experience.
The experience.
But I think those tickets are like $600 a pop.
Yeah.
Right. So $1,200 to get you in. Now Backstreet Boys, I want it that way. I do.
All right.
That's right. So I know, but that would be a cool experience. And going to Vegas, so you package it all together. That makes sense. But to go from my house to Little Caesars Arena to pay $500 to go see Taylor Swift and to see her as if she's like a little bit of a pin needle from 700 yards away, just to be in the environment, so I can hear the same music I could hear on the radio, but on a better bass system in my house. I don't know if that makes sense, but I understand why people want to do it. I just don't want to do it. Yeah. So I can't wrap my head around that.
And it's people are always going to be willing to spend the money. I mean, that's the hard thing is like, doesn't matter how high you go, there's always going to be someone out there that's going to find it within themselves to purchase those tickets. But that's what makes it tough. People are like, well, American fans aren't as passionate. Here's a good case study for you. Los Angeles. Okay. And I would be interested to talk to Victoria Quay about this, because I'm sure she'd be able to provide some insight. Whenever you watch a game like a Dodgers game, those seats right back behind home plate, those are probably the most expensive seats in the entire game of baseball. And who do you normally see there? Well, you normally see celebrities. You normally see, trust fund babies. The silver spoon platoon, as I like to refer to them. Those are the people that are going to be sitting in those seats. And typically, they're not even really watching the game. They're just hanging out. They're just on their phone. They're just, hey, we're just at Dodger Stadium. But yeah, exactly. Let's take a picture and post it. Yeah, it's like all of that. That's actually the perfect recreation. Yeah, exactly. Wait a minute. And then the only time their head pops up.
Wait.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, when they hit a homer, yeah, then their heads pop up. That's the only time. That's the only time. But then you look at the rest of the stadium and it's popping off in there. People are having fun. They're, Dodger dogs and dancing, and I mean it's LA, like they get into it. But no Los Angeles fan of that. I think LA is one of the most passionate sports fan bases in the United States. I'm going to tell you right now. People bash on them because they're like, oh well, LA is just filled with a bunch of rich people and this that. No, it's not. But when you start pricing people out of seats, you're not going to get the same level of passion. You're going to get exactly what JT's doing to me right now, And then I say, maybe I hit a fastball, and then he's like, oh wow, he's locked back in. The most passionate of all the fans oftentimes just never get the opportunity to actually come see a game. Rather, they'll take it out on their TV in their living room, and that's where you'll see the passion, and then you have to buy a new TV. So that's the issue.
I'm sorry, you used to be talking. I apologize.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
So,
I mean, or if
I
you're
just
like
think LA
Tracy
is
Morgan,
just,
at the Knicks, again, think about the games, right? The Knicks. I would imagine New York Knicks courtside seats at the New York Knicks is vastly more expensive than courtside at the Detroit Pistons, right?
Yep.
Or others, right?
Yep.
Because the market, right? Who's
Yep.
sitting in those seats? I would say I would equate the New York Knicks as far to the same thing concept as the Dodgers with behind home plate, right? And LA Lakers, right? You think about that and who's sitting in those seats, right? Jack Nicholson for the Lakers. We saw Tracy Morgan here a few weeks back sitting in the Knicks land. He had a mishap, got sick, some food poisoning all over the court. Yummy.
Yeah, I saw that.
But but you're spot on. And again, it's a status thing too, right? Right.
Yeah.
Back in the day, and I don't know if it still is or not, but being part of a country club, right, was like a status thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The kind of car you drove, status thing.
Mm-hmm.
Having courtside seats to the Lakers, that's a status thing.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to sit there and say I was sitting next to the likes of Jack Nicholson and whoever else is sitting, in these seats next to me. It's a big deal. You're almost like I'm almost like a celebrity at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Based on how, and again, TMZ is always at those games, right? So it's like
I'll drop you one more quick example here. You're wearing Tigers get up right now.
I am.
Have you seen those the new seats back behind home plate in Detroit?
I have, yeah. They're like luxury seats.
You realize how they're like
heated seats and cold seats. They have heat and cold. Yeah.
All that stuff, very nice. You see how 75% of them have been empty so far this year. And mind you, with cold weather, I think that'll still continue. Now, I don't want to talk too much because obviously I'm kind of in the system, so I don't want to tear down the system. But I thought that was one of the dumbest ideas ever. Like, know your market. Like, Eminem is not going to be able to show up every night of the week. I'm sorry. We don't have. Oh boy, a lot of money.
I'll Google. I'll do it. I'll Detroit Tiger tickets. Because I'm not gonna lie, those seats come kind of nice. I'm not gonna lie. My wife and I, when we go to the movie theater,
they are, but does that
this isn't meant to be bougie. I just want to say this: that at MJR and theaters now, they have like these wall separators for VIP seats, like little walls, half walls, right, where you get to sit in the movie theater. You have a reclining chair, you have a little table next to you. It's like your own little secluded room, even though it's not. You're still out in the open.
Don't have to deal with all these darn hooligans.
It's worth $3 extra a seat, man. I'm telling you, it is. So they also have the heated and the cool seat there too. I think that's like all the chairs like that. But it's like a little secluded area. We like sit in this. It's for $3 extra. You get to sit in these seats.
That's
so
fair.
Normally it's okay. So I'm paying the extra $3. I told my wife we will never sit another way. We will always go that way.
Yeah. Now that you do that, now you can't go back. Now that's the problem.
I know that's bougie. I know it's bougie, but I don't give a shit.
Bougie. That's fine. You can own it.
I want to see what these seats cost. Let's take a look here. So buying tickets April the 17th, the next home game. All right, so let's take a look here. I'm going to hop right into the buying tickets. We're going to pick our location here. I love how they always give you like a map here. We're going to sit. Oh, you can't even buy those seats, dude.
Yeah.
Like
They're
you can't even
reserved.
buy them.
Yeah.
They're reserved
You
for
have
who?
to reserve them.
Oh, that's bullcrap, man. I
Yeah.
think it's crappy.
But like
That's
why would you
crazy.
do that? Like automatically now you talk about like that when you watch the game from where you're watching it from, those seats will not be filled. So the first thing that you see when you watch a game is a portion of the ballpark that is half empty. And it's because, again, the normal, usual fan that even would be able to go, a little bit above and beyond with price to sit down there can't sit down there anymore. So, and we see that with professional teams in the United States. Like they're creating this custom built experience in these certain areas for the people who are willing to pay the highest price. And they are kind of in one way or another sacrificing. There you go. Yeah, VIP seating. They're sacrificing the rest of the experience for that. Are you going to watch? What is this?
I'm trying to make it a bigger screen here. It's not doing it. But yeah, this is it. This is look there. I mean, they're showing you just the side tables for snacks and drinks, right? Coat hooks, a little place to put your purse or your handbag.
Oh my God.
All in your own little privacy enclosure. There, you see that. Reserve your VIP seats. There you go. Right. I mean,
for $3 extra though, that's not bad. I'll give them that. At least they're not charging you $100 to go see a movie.
Well,
that's
on
cool,
Tuesdays they have $5 Tuesdays, so it's like every Tuesday is $5 to watch the movie. So you're paying $8 to get in the theater to enjoy your. That's all day long. So it's from beginning of the day.
At least they're surviving, man. That's the one thing I get scared of between them and GameStop. I don't really see many GameStops anymore, but at least I don't want movie theaters.
What do you have against GameStop, man?
I got nothing. No, I'm talking about the market. That they're not going to be able to survive.
Oh, that's
because everyone's getting digital systems. You can get stuff online.
I actually want to invite, and this is something that I want to do. I want to invite like VIP people to come to our studio and watch us produce games, like the game that their team is playing in. Like, let's say they have a road game, right? So we put like little viewing seats in our studio. They can sit in the room where we're calling the game, watch the game with us. We provide them food and beverage. And
they gotta listen to my loud ass while watching it.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool. I actually think people would really enjoy that, to be fair. Like, so if like you are, again, think about this from the standpoint of, okay, so what teams would want to do that? Well, if your team is local here in Metro Detroit and they have to go, let's say to Illinois for a game, right? Instead of driving to Illinois, they come to our studio, sit there and watch the game for a couple hours and enjoy the entire process of producing the game, give them a little tour, provide food, whatever, and give them that opportunity to kind of see behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think people would love to do it
together. Yeah.
Right.
It's
I could also invite them into your home where you're calling a game from your home. I can invite them into your living room.
In my studio, right there, right behind me. That's a front row experience if I've ever.
I'm going to ask this question right now. I would love to know if we offered VIP studio watch parties. You could watch the game from our studio on the big screen, be involved in our environment. Would you want to pay? And how much would you pay for something like that? Is it worth, 15, 20?
Radio silence.
Well, maybe not you, right? But I mean, like maybe somebody else. I'm curious. I bet you there are people out there that would love to do it.
There are people fascinated with how we're able to do it remotely. It is weird to see the world of sports broadcasting moving that direction. Because I can tell you with all confidence, like I feel like I do more games remote now, or it's getting closer to that 50-50 than what it was before, what it used to be. But I mean, there's more of that now, and people are always fascinated by that. It's like, what do you mean you could just call it off a screen in front of you? Like, yeah, you can. Make sure to have them sign an NDA. Yep. You can't talk about anything you've seen here. Everything stays in here.
Here's the thing, right? Nothing we do is proprietary. It's we have a way we do things. But I mean, like, to do what we do, you would just need to know how to do it all. You could walk into my studio and see the whole setup, and you wouldn't like instantaneously know what to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a process to what we do. It's taken me 3.5 years to create the process, and that process is getting refined each and every week. So what we do this week is completely different than we did last week. And every time we do more, we do. So I'm not overly, now granted, if you invite like the next production company to come on in, they might do that, but I'm not worried about that aspect of having, fan Detroit Metro FC fan, coming into our building. You know what I mean? Not at all. Right. So, but I think it'd be a cool thing. I think that'd be I think to be fair, I think a lot of people would actually want to be a part of that. And we can do it in groups, groups of 4. Right. So you charge each person like, $25, and that basically covers their Chicken Shack meal we bring into the studio. People are like, well, Chicken Shack. Yeah. Chicken Shack. Right. Portillo's. We'd have Portillo's night here, right, at the studio. Bring in Savvy Sliders, right, and just and have that delivered, and they can sit in that room and watch those games being called, and experience it like we experience it each and every week. And hey, they might be able to come on, tap in the shoulder and say, hey, that's actually Sam Smith, who scored that goal, or be like, hey, here's some insight. Even put them on camera, at grab camera. Coney Dog, right? Get Coney Dog. Get National Coney Island to bring in Coney Dogs, right? Right. Well, so we can do different themes. I think it'd be great. I'm pretty sure my wife would probably on some level have some stress in regards to that process. What are you doing, man? What are you doing? VIP? Come on now, man. We'd have to create maybe like a chair, like a VIP chair section, like MJR in our studio. People sit right behind,
right behind me, right
That'd
behind
be kind of
me.
cool to
Right
think
over
about,
my.
right? Can you imagine having about 3 or 4 rows of chairs behind us, and when we bring the camera, we have the green screen, so you could whatever, and then you have these people just right behind you watching. That would be kind of cool. It would be really cool.
It's true. So we come on for pregame, and it's me talking with 4 people behind me. They
all have their NSN cup in their hands, right? Little NSN cups and popcorn, right? And they're just sitting there talking like they're doing this thing, on their phone, like if there's like a real game.
Build like multiple layers, so it looks like we're in front of like the stands or something.
Yes, that'd be kind of cool.
That'd be great. We are live from San Francisco.
Sorry, but White Castle, your guests could slide into the studio and slide out.
Nice.
I bet you that we could do. We should definitely create that model. I think it'd be kind of cool. I think people would thoroughly enjoy it. I really do. Not the White Castle aspect.
Call you crazy when you bring this idea to the table. She might tell you you're a little crazy.
Wow, she can hear this whole conversation. She's off to my right now. So
so she already thinks you're crazy then.
Probably.
What, Bianca? How do we feel?
I don't know. She can't hear that. She can just hear me talking. She can't hear you. But
I can feel the eye rolls from here right now. Oh, that'd be great. Fortunately, I have a decent enough experience. I feel like you too in calling games and having people either right in front of you or directly behind you. I've been through that a few times, so that wouldn't be the first time.
No kids. Nobody under the age of 18. Nobody under the age of 18. Right?
There we go. No one kicking my seat.
We could have alcohol. We could serve alcohol.
Okay.
Have a little. Nope. Now I got the look. I got the look.
That might get a little testy.
21 and over. We got some. We'll call Budweiser and Bud Light. Be like, hey, would you like to, provide our alcohol to our VIP people and sit back there with a nice Budweiser and enjoy the game. The high school soccer game on.
It's the high school soccer game.
No, I'm just kidding. No.
Okay.
No one under 21. Okay, so Peter says nobody under 21. Okay, so it's only adults. Right? Not that means anything.
We're just throwing darts here, people. If anybody else has any ideas, I mean, you chirp in. So
yeah. We will definitely serve coffee. Okay. We do have our own in-house slushy machine, so we could offer slushies at an upcharge.
Cheers.
But yeah, I mean, we could totally. I mean, I think it would be cool. I think we should offer it as a service. We'll call it. I don't know what we call it. Studio. I don't know what we call it. We just have to call it something studio. But studio,
inside the game live.
Oh yeah. Right, come watch us watch what we do best. Watch us call a game on a big screen. Coffee from the corner gas station. There you go. We have hit our mark. We have hit 1 hour on the air. That was episode number 62 here today. We'll be at episode 65 by the end of next week, moving our way towards 70. It's pretty cool, man, thinking about how many episodes we've done. And if you love what we're doing, please hit that subscribe button, like us, share this with your friends and family. We will continue the conversation next week about fans, but also get into the conversation about the Gold Cup coming up here this summer. The draw did happen yesterday. We'll get into that. yeah, we will talk U.S. Open third round as well next week as that gets underway. Remember, Easter is next Sunday, so we're not too far off from that. A lot of games this weekend. We've got U.S. Let's see, we got APSL this weekend, League for Clubs this weekend. We've got the MASL is happening. We are just doing distribution of that to our partners. We are, in fact, covering the Michigan Wolves in the National Academy League tomorrow against Sockers FC as well as United FC Chicago. So that takes place tomorrow and Sunday on the National Soccer Network. So take a look at that. I think that's all we got this weekend, but it's a lighter weekend for us, which is great. Gives me a little bit of a deep breath. Take a regroup a little bit because we get ready here. We're going to get ready here for our busy time here coming up in May. But that'll do it here for us. Episode number 62 is in the books. That's Nathan Wangler. Right there. I'm going to come over. Can I just go like right here? Gone. But that's Nathan. I'm Jonathan. I'm watching Inside the Game. And don't forget to come back here on Monday. Same time, same place, right here on the National Soccer Network. This has been a presentation of the National Soccer Network.